Hello there, everybody. It's Sue here, Sue Crooks from LoveBiz Networking. And here we are on our LoveBiz workshop. And we have the wonderful Laura Hampson from Hampson Coaching here to help us with our winter well-being. So I'm going to pass over to Laura now. She's going to introduce herself. We'll learn a little bit about her, and we will all be refreshed, ready for that winter sunshine. Over to you, Laura. Thank you very much. And thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. That's absolutely wonderful. I'm now going to share these wonderful slides here for you and just share that picture with you, really, which I think sometimes we forget to stop and stare a little bit, don't we, when we're all busy? And that's kind of the first thing I like to remind people to do, is just to stop, just to take a few deep breaths, just to stop, to use this time over the next 35 minutes to just immerse yourself, commit to not checking your phone, your emails, being distracted if you can. Just really immerse yourself into this workshop for the next 35 minutes. So winter well-being, outshine the winter sun. When the sun's here, it's absolutely beautiful. Here is me on a more sprightly day quite a few years ago, and my qualifications. And of course, none of that really makes me qualified to do what I do now, I don't think. I think life does, and adversity, and being in sticky situations, if you like. But I run Hampson Coaching and another business called the Wellbeing Support Service. I have 3 children. I have a dog. I'm very happily divorced following a horrendous divorce situation. I'm happy to share with you if anybody does want to know those level of details. You know, life throws all these awful things at us sometimes. And I'm a huge, or the reason I am where I am now, essentially in my mind, is because I've learned to reframe, I've learned to think differently, I've learned to focus on what I'm grateful for, what's good, how I can move things forward, how I can control, how I can change. And I'm going to share some of that with you today. I think it's hugely important that sort of this concept of resilience and well-being isn't really just thrown under the carpet or sort of seen as wishy-washy, which is unfortunately what is happening in some businesses. But there is a lot more to it. And what I do is this side of things, but also strategy and implementation, and working with people around their whole business to try and figure out what's going on, and then help people embed a good work-life well-being culture. Today, I'm going to invite you to reflect for the session. We're going to have some discussion, but Sue said that's going to happen at the end, which is great, along with the Q&A. If you want to add anything throughout the training, if you like, in the next 35 minutes, just raise your hand. I'll come to you. It's always going to be relevant. Some reminders, because a lot of you will know this kind of stuff as well, but sometimes we need to hear those reminders. We're also going to do a little mindfulness session before we finish, so you'll all hopefully be refreshed at the end of our time together today. So I'd like to start, and this goes into all of my training. I want to start by asking you to make a commitment to something today. And with this kind of session, it's normally yourself. We are women of a certain age, if you don't mind me saying that. If you're anything like me, it is sort of, you're the last person on the list. You are at the bottom of the pile. You say yes to everything, to everybody else, to make them happy, to make Christmas amazing, to fulfill people's dreams in any way you can, because you love helping, supporting, and being the best version of yourself. But of course, that means that we don't do what we need to do for ourselves. We say no to the nice long bath with the candles and the glass of wine because we haven't got time, we need to work. We say no to that morning run because we need to get the kids ready for school. We say no to being grateful. We say no to so many things that would be so much better for us than rushing around like headless chickens. So I'm asking you today to make a commitment to something that's going to help you improve your well-being, and especially over the next few months, which we know that winter is particularly difficult for the mind. So it's Christmas. Yes, and I have to say, as much as I'm very much looking forward to next week, I'm not a huge fan of Christmas because bad things happened at Christmas and it made me associate Christmas with tragedy. I've been able to overcome that though and see the pleasure in the run up to Christmas more than Christmas Day and more than the Christmas period. And so I've taught myself and those around me to value not the presence, but the presence of people, the presence of joy and happiness and taking time off and cuddles and not worrying about the things that we worry about for the rest of the year. We'll often feel burnt out at this time of year. We can turn Christmas into a bit of a headache, think that we need to already start thinking about that New Year's resolutions, that fitness fanatical session in middle of January when the gyms are full and the streets are full of runners and bikers. But instead, wouldn't it be nice if we just spent the next few weeks thinking about how wonderful life is, how grateful we are for who we have in our lives and for what we have, that we can put the heating on and that we can walk around the streets and look at the Christmas lights. And we just forget about those things because we're too busy. We feel a bit like this sometimes, and that unfortunately is what can be coming for some even over Christmas, but in January as well. If you don't have the matching pajamas and you don't have the Christmas Eve boxes and you don't have a homemade Christmas cake and you don't have all the other wonderful things that the media tells us that we need to have, and yet we do have the warm bed and we do have the nice blanket and we do have the support of each other. If we wanted to reach out, we could. So I want you to just look at this picture for a moment and think about when you've been somewhere that's made you feel like you're free, that there's no weight on your shoulders, that there's no pressure, no stress, that you've looked up and you've looked around and you've realized that actually we're all relatively small in the world and we can have a huge impact if we want. And when you felt like there's nothing else to do and there's nowhere to be and it's just you and those you want to be with. And so this is how I would like at least one of your days over the next few weeks to be. Just a day for you, somewhere that you enjoy being, somewhere that works for you, and trying to fit that in to your already very busy schedules. So what is well-being? I mean, we bang on about it all the time, but essentially it's all of these things here brought together. And we can't possibly manage all of this stuff if we were to listen to what, again, the media and experts like myself say. Essentially, we'd have all of this covered. You only have to look in a newspaper and get talking to somebody. They'll talk about the menopause. They'll talk about ADHD. They'll talk about the financial crisis. They'll start talking about the mental health pandemic. And it's all very real, but it makes us feel like we're overwhelmed with what we need to do. And so this isn't about what everyone else tells us to do. This is about what we need to do for ourselves, what we can actually do. And it might be something very small. So something that's really going to make a difference to us. And it might be that actually it will be a 10-minute walk at lunchtime every day for the next 6 weeks. Every day, 10 minutes. Imagine how that adds up. Imagine the steps you'll work through. That is going to have a huge impact on your physical health and your mental health. But it isn't going to address every one of those things. And that is not necessary to have or see improvement in your life. I love Maslow. I think he was ahead of his time when he started talking about this kind of stuff. This is from the 1960s, would you believe? Some old things, or some things that are that old, are actually amazing. And every time I look at this, I always think of my nan, because my nan didn't know Maslow. My nan's 85, the most amazing woman I'll ever know, brought me up in certainly 100 different ways, and I have a wonderful relationship with her. But she would always make sure that my basic needs were met, and those were the most important. She hasn't got a lot of money, and she never had. And just like Maslow, there was always food in the cupboards. She always recognized that it was important to rest and go to sleep. She would always sit there and put a film on and cuddle up, and we'd have the fire on, and we'd always make sure we were well hydrated. My nan doesn't drink, neither do I, and that's important because that's part of those basic needs for us in what we say. I'm not advocating giving up alcohol. Don't worry, ladies, it's fine if you drink. Safety needs is another thing that we all forget about, and actually we can often feel very unsafe, but something that we all need to work towards. And as we move our way up this triangle, there are things in it that we know, innately we know, and things that we've been brought up with, but that we will have forgotten. So let's talk about sleep, because actually sleep's one of the most important things. And I'm pretty sure that most people keep telling us we need to sleep more. And I'm sort of here to tell you that actually, although most adults need 7 to 9 hours per night, that isn't across the board. And if you have 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, and it's quality deep sleep, you will be fine. In fact, you'll function absolutely fine. And most people don't need actually 7 to 9 hours, and certainly not women between the ages of 40 and 60. It's actually really important that we focus on other areas. However, it's quality sleep that makes a difference. Now, we do know that if you weren't to sleep for, say, 48 hours, you'd lose your memory, and your mental and physical health would start to deteriorate. But it wouldn't take you long to catch up either. But it is important when we're not sleeping and we're tired that we rest. And this is the bit that we forget. So your body, when you go and lie down, if you can't sleep or you're struggling or you're overwhelmed, if you pretend you're asleep, your body will get 70% of the rest it needs just from pretending. And that means you just need to lie still, pretend you're dreaming, and pretending dreaming is wonderful because you can dream about anything you want. And just close your eyes and lie still and be cozy. And that rest is just as good. And I learned that when I was training for marathons. And it meant because the night before a marathon, I would never sleep. But when I learned that, I realized that 1, sleep always wins anyway. But 2, I just needed to pretend and I'd be 70% rested. And that gave me a lot of hope in the race. We do know that hormones, different times of years, your circadian rhythm, of course, plays a big part in sleep. And if you do struggle to sleep, getting up out and early and in some daylight before midday is going to have the biggest impact on you sleeping at nighttime. So if you do want to improve your well-being, want to improve your sleep, getting out for a little walk in the daylight before midday is going to have the most impact with the shortest amount of effort. Safety. I always want to talk about safety because there's been many times in my life when I haven't felt safe. And although COVID is the one we all kind of know about, that was a relatively short amount of time. And when we look back, we think how ridiculous, really. But at the same time, we lost people and it made us feel unsafe. And many people are still feeling the effects of that fear, depending on, what happened during that time, not just physically, mentally. So it's really important to recognize in yourself whether or not there is something that's making you feel unsafe. Is there a situation like going to the supermarket for some people is still a barrier? It still feels like a risk. And so is that creating a problem for you? Financial safety, again, is something which it can get to a place where it becomes very difficult, especially at this time of year. We start to see the pressure. And also, of course, in relationships, sometimes they can be unsafe as well. If you feel unsafe, there are a few things you can do. If you're feeling unsafe mentally, it's really important to get yourself to a GP, to a hospital, to a friend, ask them for support, okay? It doesn't matter if you think you're being over the top or you're concerned in any way, you don't want to waste somebody's time. That's not necessary to think about at that point. What's more important is that you've got somebody's hand to hold and that you can get yourself to a place of safety with a friend, a family member, or a professional. But if you're not feeling safe financially, there are people that can help as well. And that's really important, because one unsafe feeling can lead to another. Let's talk about belongingness and love needs. What's great about this network is I haven't been with you long, but I already feel like if I really needed someone, I could ring someone up. Ruth, I have met on a one-to-one basis, and Ruth, you're the kindest person, and we gelled, and it was lovely. Having someone to talk to is fundamental for our well-being, for our existence. Just the very recognition that we can talk about little problems, things that are bothering us, relationship difficulties, health issues, kids, all of that stuff. And then the deeper stuff as well. It's so important. Never feel too busy to pick the phone up. Never feel like it's been too long to speak to a friend. It doesn't matter if it's been a year. I will pick the phone up and say, I know it's been ages, but I miss you and I want to talk. And I think it's so, so important. And when somebody does that with me, I say, fantastic. I know you're busy. I really appreciate your time. And it warms my heart. And I think it's so important. So please, please, please do that. Today or in the next few weeks, pick the phone up to anybody and say, I miss you. I want to chat. I'm sorry. It's been ages. I just want to say hi. Now, interestingly, Louise said she helps people with confidence, or young people with confidence. I have a 13-year-old. It's very varying in terms of how confident she is. She's sometimes far too confident, as you can imagine most teenagers can be, and other times she's completely lacking. And so recognizing how being confident helps you is important. Having people around you that push you, that drive you, that motivate you, but also that you talk to yourself like your own friend. So I have a friend of mine who rang me up. They'd been on a date. When they rang me up, she said, I've just spoken to my other friend. And I said, you know, I went on this date and I don't think it went very well. And she said, well, what happened? She says, well, I got there and he wasn't really interested in me, but I'm not surprised because I'm fat and I'm ugly and I'm old and I'm not very clever and I've not done anything for myself. And I went, who was that? Said that to you? And who said that? She said that. She said that to herself, because that's what we do. We get up in the morning and go, I don't like that flabby bit. I don't like those wrinkles just there. I need to have my roots done. I want a new wardrobe. What on earth have I done to myself? And then you'd never, ever speak like that to one of your friends. So again, this might be your thing. I went to Birmingham University to do some work there recently, and one of the students was doing an exercise similar around self-esteem and how they talk to each other. And she said, I was brought up never to speak negative about myself or anything I'd ever done, that everything was a learning curve and I should respect and honor myself. And that was one student out of 120. The rest of them were talking very negatively about themselves and felt the pressure from all different sources around what they should look like, what they should be like, what they should have been doing, that level of comparison. So have a think about how you talk to yourself, and have a think about how nice you are to yourself and what you can do to be nicer. There is value in everything that you have done. And because nobody's perfect, we need to recognize that we're not just part of a mold. We're not just another, another 40-year-old or 50-year-old woman who's got to a certain place and is trying so hard to fit in. We are individuals that need to celebrate where we're at and what we've done. The confidence capture is something I encourage everyone to sit down and do. It makes everybody cringe, but I want you to try and do it, okay? So when we come later on, I'd like you to try and contribute one thing that you know you're good at, one thing. And we sell ourselves all the time with our business hats on, and that's absolutely fantastic. But if we could sell ourselves personally as well, people buy from people. Let's remember that you are valuable, and therefore there is something good about you. So try and think of that before we finish today, and I would love to hear all of those things. And also recognizing what good looks like for you, because that is very different for us all at different times. Creativity and self-actualization. this is where, right at the top of Maslow's hierarchy, actually he says, when we've got all those other needs covered, which, you know, we can work through those over the next 12 months if we want to. But actually being creative is a mindful activity. It really helps if we're struggling with problems in any area of our life. If we stop with whatever problem we have got and we go off and do something creative, we will open up a different part of our brains that will allow us to think differently, use our imagination, be more innovative, vision through what those issues are. Drawing is just as good. So drawing a problem, molding it out of clay, working with paints, going for a run is another sort of, or any kind of sport or exercise, anything that's pushing you to think differently, be creative, be motivated. Motivation comes from doing, essentially. We don't get motivated. We're not motivated or not motivated. We do something, it motivates us. So we need to use that and recognize that once we start on a journey, we can continue on that journey. It's motivating for that factor. So think about what you love doing, that you used to do, that you used to spend time doing when you had time. And it might have even been back in university or when you were so much younger, if you like. I know I used to do acrylic painting. In fact, the picture you can see behind me is something I have painted. And I love it, and it's creative and it's mindful. But I don't get time to do it very often. And that breaks my heart because it's just a hobby. But it's not. It's a hobby that warms my soul and makes me feel better and makes me feel like I've achieved something, which is why it's so important. So some simple stress management things to remember. Move more. Any movement is good. Any movement, up the stairs, down the stairs, wave your arms in the air, dance around the room. I run marathons. I run all sorts of things. I swim. I do all sorts of crazy things because I'm absolutely bonkers. However, I know that just a little bit of movement makes a difference. And when I've been in hospital, I had meningitis 2 years ago. When I came out, it took me 6 months to get back up to fitness. Little and often, every single day, a little walk, a little jump, a little hop, whatever works for you. We need to keep those muscles working if we want to be stronger as we age. A good sleep routine that includes rest, have a warm bath, have a hot cup of tea, something without caffeine, having a glass of water beside your bed at nighttime. To drink first thing in the morning is going to rehydrate you straight away. That's so important. We dehydrate in the night, which is why we're sluggish in the morning. Practice self-compassion on a daily basis. Drink more water generally throughout the day. We often think we're hungry when we're actually thirsty. And when we're thirsty, we're tired, which makes us feel like we're fatigued and we can't cope. Breathe more. Nasal breathing is actually so good for you. Nasal breathing means that your immune system is fighting harder. It stops you from getting poorly. But actually, the more we breathe, the more we can take breaths in, and that's going to help us generally with energy levels. Take vitamin D, B, and magnesium, the three vitamins that, according to the many experts that I have researched and looked into, are the three main vitamins that all women between the ages of kind of 35 and 55 should be taking in order to boost their energy levels and their general well-being. A few other things before we finish today. Control. The idea around control and stress is often one that can cause anxiety. So feeling out of control can lead to feelings of panic, anxiety, nervousness. And when people come to me and they are struggling with anxiety, this is one of the things we look at. But just generally in life, this can be applied to absolutely anything. So it's about remembering what we can control in a situation. We can always control ourselves. We can always control how much we move, how much we eat, how much we drink, depending on our resources and what we're capable of physically, but how much we push ourselves to ensure that we're doing the best thing for ourselves. We can always control our reactions. So if, I won't mention a car brand, but if somebody pulls up in front of me, cuts me up on the motorway, I could be really angry and swear at them. Or I can say, they're probably having a bad day. they're probably late for something. Their mum's probably in a hospital. It's fine. I'm having a better day. Okay? Your reaction can be changed and you're in control of that mindset. If you feel like something is bad, it's going to be bad. Your brain does what you tell it to do. Actually, that's really important to recognize. Just for now, if you tell your brain to put your hands on your head, you'll put your hands on your head. You don't have to do it now. You can try it later if you want to. The circle of influence is about recognizing what we can do to influence others. And if a child's having a tantrum and they are upset, if you shout at them, then they will continue having a tantrum and they will think that shouting in that situation is right. Now, as a mum, we all shout sometimes and that's just the way it is. And we all make mistakes and we all do things we don't want to do. However, if we can learn that every time we're upset, we get a hug, then that means that that's going to help. If we've got a problem, instead of getting upset, maybe I could say I've got a problem first. And so our influence is wide. Our influence is wider than we think it is. If we smile when we cross the street, people smile back. And the circle of concern really is the things that we don't have any control over, the things we have to learn to let go of. I can't control the traffic, but it's everywhere and it's worse than it's ever been. And it is driving me bonkers, but I can't control it. So I will just have to get up a little bit earlier and drive to places that I need to go to. And that's okay, because when I get there, I have a nice cup of coffee and a nice cafe and everything is well. So a little bit of mindfulness to finish today. And I'm going to invite you now, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes. But if you don't, just to find a focal point in your space of something that doesn't move. And I just want you to start by taking some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And to give yourself permission to recognize that you have nothing else to do right now and nowhere else to go. Nobody needs you right now in a way that is overwhelming. And just continue that deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Try and feel where your breath is within your body. And with each in-breath, notice how your shoulders lift, hold, and just lower a little bit more. And the muscles in our face can relax. The muscles in our neck and our upper back start to intense themselves. And I'd like you to imagine that you are now on a grassy bank and it's just the right temperature for you. You're somewhere warm in a park and you're lying on this grassy bank. It's just beautiful. You can hear the birds and the trees rustling, and you can actually feel the grass, the warm grass blades just beneath your hands, just tickling your neck. It is just the right temperature for you. You can feel the sun beating down, it's warming up your body, warming up your skin. There's a little stream at the bottom of this bank. You can just hear the water, but it goes past you nice and slowly. And remember, you have nowhere else to be right now. This is your moment. You have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to do. But breathe and enjoy this moment. Focus on the grass and the warmth. And enjoy this moment of completely relaxing, calm, an energy that you're grateful for, the time that you needed. And before you come back to us, think about now what it is you're grateful for today. What moment in time has helped you? What can you be thankful for? And when you're ready, bring yourself back to the room. Open your eyes. And at this point, I try not to launch into full speed speaking again because I slowed it right down and it can be a little much to get going again straight away. That was just 2 minutes. And I will challenge you to find 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes to stop. 2 minutes just to be thankful. 2 minutes to breathe. And they've done scans, brain scans, lots of them, that show that after several months of mindfulness, the brain starts to change shape. The neurons that are like plasticine really start to form new bonds, and you start to react in a way that allows you to be aware and mindful in everyday moment, not just when you are doing mindfulness. So just 2 minutes is all it takes to allow yourself to breathe, be calm, be thankful, and focus on what you're doing right now. So mindfulness generally, of course, is just being aware of the moment that you're in, just giving yourself just one thing to do, which sounds completely bonkers, only one thing at a time. But I promise you, multitasking is something we're not very good at, something that we're not intended to do. And it doesn't work. And as much as we want to, it ends in failure in all of the tasks, or it certainly ends in complete and utter exhaustion. So allow yourself to think about how you can actually just be doing one thing. And from the words of Nikki Flanagan, if you put the kettle on, just stand and watch the kettle boil. Sounds outrageous, but you'll really value the cup of tea and the time that you have to do that. You can do it while walking, while eating, and just imagine a nice shower with some lovely bubble bath. Not thinking, just enjoying the senses. And of course, to help you sleep with a number of different activities, and I do recommend using Calm or Headspace for the sleep stories, or the sleep meditations, which are brilliant. And finally, before we finish for today, the expectations versus reality. It doesn't really matter in terms of what we do. It's about what we expect to get, what we expect to happen, what we expect our life to be like. And if we expect to live in a 5-bedroomed house with a swimming pool, have Brad Pitt as a husband, and have 3 well-behaved children, then you're probably not going to be happy. But if you expect what you've got right now, or even less, if you expect to go to the fridge and it's empty, and actually you just find right at the back there a little piece of chocolate that you forgot to eat, well, those moments are joyous. So learning to be thankful for what you have removes tension, pressure, and stress. It stops you striving for the things that are unachievable and helps you to focus on what's important. So just on a regular basis, being grateful and thinking about what we can be grateful for is hugely important and can help in terms of every sense of your well-being. And that's it. That's me. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I didn't talk too fast, but I wanted to give you as much as I could in that short amount of time some little reminders. Sometimes we actually just need to stop, and sometimes those brick walks are there for a reason. Over to Sue for Q&A, or anything that anybody wants to add right now.
Oh, Laura, that was just brilliant. I realised when I was listening to you how tired I was. And I don't know if you saw me, I yawned quite a few times because I stopped just for it. And I totally get what you said about just having those 2 minutes. Oh, it just stop. My hand is normally on my mouse all day. And I actually took my hand off. I just sit there. I'm there now with my hand on my mouse. I'm not doing anything. But it just actually made me take my hand away from my mouse. And I just went incredibly tired, which proves how tired I really am by just stopping for 2 minutes. So thank you for that. Laura, before we go on to the Q&A and stop the recording, how can we get in touch with you?
Brilliant. Good ideas. Well, there's some resources here and I'll share these.
Fantastic.
Just so that you know that there's obviously lots of people to talk to. There's a resilience guide on my website as well, which is free and downloadable, lots of blogs, but that is how you can get in touch with me. So I do one-to-one support, team support, and complete a rewire of an organization around a wellbeing strategy when people need it.
Fantastic. And all your details as well are on the Sherwood members directory as well. So thank you, everybody. We're going to stop the recording shortly, and then we're going to come on to a Q&A. So have all your questions ready to ask. So if we just stop the screen slide for one moment, and then we can say farewell to all the people that are watching us on replay. So thank you very much. Contact Laura and we'll see you very soon. For everyone else in the room now, we'll come on to Q&A.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Laura, thank you once again. That was fabulous. Thank you so, so much.